Hello, everyone. I'm Joe.
And TJ.
And we are the Schoolhouse 302. And this is the 302 Thoughts segment of our One Thing series, where we are committed to breaking down, complex topics in meaningful ways that do not have to be complicated. And this month, we're 100% focused on innovation. And one reason that TJ and I really started to talk about innovation this month was there's so much change going on around us through COVID, let me just word it like this: the dual pandemics, COVID, social justice movement that's occurring, that a lot of changes is happening, and we're not necessarily steering the ship as it's occurring. So how as leaders do we harness that? How are principal leaders still innovative amid really, tumultuous times, and really trying to still achieve great things, still have student achievement, steer that ship appropriately when you're getting knocked around a bit, all in positive ways, right? I mean, so a lot of things with COVID, we're responding in positive ways. The social justice movement's woken us up, as we have acknowledged in the past, to certain things as well that really needs attention and immediate attention. So we said, you know what, let's also though couple this month with Women's History of last month, and let's find some dynamic, innovative female CEOs. And I'll tell you what, TJ, I had a tremendous experience researching different CEOs and discovering some really powerful thinkers out there doing incredible things in incredible companies and changing the world, really.
It's so true. And the leaders that we highlighted in the blog are phenomenal people, and they've created just awesome things for society, and innovations that, are just something that they've infused into the culture. And I think that's a leadership lesson that we learn as principals, as principal leaders, that we really are culturalists. And for innovation to stick, we need to be able to get that to be infused in the culture in a new way. And so that's what I respected about the people we highlighted, is that they were able to transcend, the status quo, and really, what has been deemed crossing the chasm with an innovation. So cool concepts. You want to highlight one of the people for those who may haven't seen the blog yet, maybe?
Absolutely, TJ. And, we had a great model this month, which we try to do every month, that talked about inspiring creativity as a leader, making sure we're always with our why and our purpose, innovate incrementally, and value ideas. And I want to focus, we have some powerhouses in here, but as you know, I'm a big MMA fan. Grew up a huge boxing fan. And, discovering Society 9 was a lot of fun. And Lynn Lee, their founder, one thing I really like about Lynn Lee and Society 9, what we were able to uncover is, this centers on boxing and sports apparel for female users. What I find amazing is that, boxing's been around forever, centuries. And it's often though, like, who would have thought, that women are going to emerge as great boxers, as great MMA fighters. And, but we have to adjust these gloves. And that's something Lynn Lee discovered. They don't have the right gloves. And so that was their starting. And as Society 9 is really about that first glove, boxing glove that they made. And I think that's really important to realize here, and something we highlight. Innovation doesn't have to be a completely new idea. It can be an incremental change to value and respect the diversity that's within your organization, what you're trying to achieve. And I think that's critical right now for educational leaders, because we have a lot going on as we're changing and evolving, that we have to realize we don't have to scrap a lot of what we've done in the past, but not changing would also be offensive. And we can take a page out of Lindley's book and say, you know what, we're going to make adjustments to fit this user, just like she did with Society 9.
It's a perfect example where the innovation solved the problem that had previously persisted and that somebody just needed to think about it differently. And so, a lot of times innovations don't solve problems that we have. They're just new things that are infused into the culture. But a lot of times they also do. We can start with a problem of practice, we can think differently, and we can solve a problem for the future. What I like about that example is now we have a whole new set of women apparel for boxers, and it's available, and you don't have to adjust and tape and do all the things that people were doing to fix and the stuff that wasn't working from the past. I also want to say something about innovation, Joe, from the models, that it doesn't mean that you deviate from your values and your vision. You can incrementally innovate, or you can completely deviate from a practice that you have, like instructional practice or grading practice, or some practice that you've used. You can completely deviate from that, but not deviate from your core values. In fact, sometimes deviating from the status quo towards the innovation is in itself backed up by the values, or more closely related to the vision and the values than the status quo was. So going back to those those values, those core values that we hold true, that sometimes helps us to innovate, not just continue doing what we've always done.
100%. I think people sometimes confuse convictions and assumptions. And I recently read that somewhere, like, please don't get mired into your assumptions. Hold true to your convictions, but be willing to let go of your assumptions. And I think the clearer we get with our purpose and our why, and what you just said, TJ, our values. And that's what I love about the CEOs we chose. I mean, like I said, we have some powerhouses in here, and we're not even mentioning the other three. But if I can take 1 second, we talked about Spanx in here, and really how Sarah Blakely discovered that just by not willing to be uncomfortable, like solving something in a real time that revolutionized this industry. And it's fascinating when we're willing to just stay curious, hold on to our convictions, like things like comfort, like style, but say, you know what, this isn't working right. That's an assumption that we're holding on to that's typically limiting our beliefs. But when we confuse those two, we're stifled. So the sooner you can get rid of false assumptions and hang on to your convictions, you'll continue to innovate.
Yeah, and I think that's a great example of somebody who's fixing something on a daily basis that needs to be fixed, and that needs to be scaled. Stuff that maybe teachers are doing in their classroom to tweak things, to alter practices that probably everybody should be altering. So scaling innovation is also a really important thought. Well, we close out there, Joe, and I think we hope people will go to the blog at theschoolhouse302.com, continue to listen to 302 Thoughts, our One Thing series podcast. Upcoming this month will be our Read This series. We're going to recommend a book, and also a podcast with a heavy hitter author that we're going to discuss her book with her, and we can't wait to release that for you. Again, this is our 302 Thoughts. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. As always, we love when you like, follow, and share the work with others.